Hey guys, what's going on? DaveMaster81 here. Thanks for checking out the video. It's actually pretty late. It's pretty late in my house right now. But I decided I want to make a video on Chatterbaits. I kind of want to help people, buy Chatterbaits. Figure out what Chatterbait's the best Chatterbait to buy. And I kind of just want to give you some tips on trailers, things like that. Basically, just everything about Chatterbaits. The first thing you want to look for when you buy a Chatterbait, this is actually a Z-Man Project Z Chatterbait. It's not my favorite, but I do have quite a bit of them because they were on sale, and they do work really well. But the first thing you want to look for in a Chatterbait is this connection from the blade to the actual head of the bait, and that's probably the most important thing you want to look for when you're looking to buy a Chatterbait. And there's actually a couple designs. They have this one. Actually, this one's the same way. This is the original Chatterbait. They got some where they have a double split ring design. You really want this type of design, and the reason why is when you're fishing, cast that bait out, hits the water, and you start reeling. Those double split ring design Chatterbaits, they have a little bit of time that they have to start up before they start chattering and kicking and doing their own action. These, as soon as they hit the water, they start chattering as soon as you start reeling. This design's superior. It's also a lot stronger. A lot of people talk about blades. I don't think any blade really excels better than any other blade on the market. I mean, the Z-Man Chatterbait is a great blade. Picasso Shock blade, awesome blade. Revenge, I think Revenge has a Chatterbait. No, it's D&MCustomBaits. Their blade's really good, but basically any Chatterbait that you buy, I'm gonna drop it. Just make sure when you buy that blade, is you don't want it to be completely straight. When you buy that blade, you want just a little bit of a bend at the top. And if your blade doesn't have that, I just take a pair of pliers and bend it. And the reason why is if you have it just straight and flat, it'll tend to want to ride up in the water column. You can never get any depth out of your Chatterbaits. You don't really want to fish them deep. I mean, you at least want them to get them like 4 or 5 foot at the most. So that's why I have to save out blades. And then this design, I've never really had one of these on the front brake, especially the original. This is an original Z-Man. It's rusted. I've had this thing for like 4 or 5 years. This particular bait's caught a ton of fish. But I mean, if you're really catching like 10-pound bass on the regular, this design's definitely a lot stronger. But I mean, there's really probably only 5% of anglers out there catching 10-pound bass on the daily. So I don't think you'd have to worry about that unless you're getting 10-pound bass. Then use this design with just that little wire and whatever. Next thing I want to talk about is heads. This head right here, and really the only thing you have to think about with heads is when you're fishing structure. This rounded head, this is more like an Arky style head, like an Arky style jig, and this one's more of like a swim jig type head. And the only difference is how they're going to handle around rock. This one is going to want to roll over, and that hook's going to want to catch on rock. The original Chatterbait is actually one of the decent things that it's good at, is it's good at rolling over rock and not getting hung up as bad. And both of them do awful in grass just because the blade doesn't. They do terrible in grass. So if you're wanting to have one to fish around rock and wood and stuff, this rounded head design, and there's other ones. I really don't like this particular Chatterbait because of the hook, but this rounded head design is better around wood and rock. So that's something to keep in mind. Skirt, most of them all have pretty good skirts. I wouldn't, as long as it has a lot of strands on it and it moves very easily, I wouldn't worry about the skirt. Just in general, make sure you have a good hook. Z-Man on the original Chatterbait has a very generic hook. I've had to like every time I hook a fish, I have to sharpen it. It's not even sharp at all. I've lost a bunch of fish just because I've been too lazy to sharpen it, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to take a minute or two sharpening a hook and then just to catch one fish. So that hook's kind of garbage in the original, but on their newer ones, in their more expensive baits, have been putting Mustad 5/0 hooks and Gamakatsu 5/0 hooks. So as long as your hook's from a name brand and it's sharp, this one's actually really sharp, you should be good to go. The last thing I want to talk about, and something a lot of people I think miss on, is the trailer. The trailer is where I think people really fail with the Chatterbait. A lot of people like to put a big swim bait style trailer on their Chatterbait. Let's see if I have one here. This is a half a reaction iteration skinny dipper. They like to put a big paddle, and I don't have any footage of this. I'm kind of just shooting this video late at night, but what this tail will want to do is, if this thing on the back and this thing's chattering, when this comes through the water, all this water is getting displaced by this thing right here, and this thing is moving very fast. If you've ever seen a chatterbait blade, the blade moves extremely fast, and there's not enough water to push this big meaty tail. So what this tail does is it actually kind of does like this weird, it kind of like goes up like this and does this weird, like really slow, like this type of motion, very, very slow, and it looks bad, because I like, when I'm fishing, if my blade, get this situated, if my blade is going super fast, I want my skirt to be going the same speed, and I want my trailer to be going the same speed, just look like a natural bait fish. If I have one of them that's out of, is not in rhythm, I think it just looks awful. And for my own personal fishing, it's been a detriment to my fishing. So, a couple things you can do is, if you have an original, this is actually a Kitech 3.8. This is a skinny dipper. Is what you do is you just cut off this paddle. That's it. I do it on this chatterbait too. I basically just take that Kitech and I cut off the paddle, and the Kitech's really good because when you cut off that paddle, there's this little thin section, and that is an awesome little trailer, and it moves like crazy. If you don't want to do any cutting, I recommend a Super Fluke Garyamoto Zako. I think that's what it's called. And then they got like the Lake Fork Live Magic Shadow. I believe that's what it's called. It's another great chatterbait trailer. But I hope this helps you guys.